Lonely CEO's amazing encounter with twin girls revealed a touching truth that transformed his life. Mark Taylor, at the helm of a high-tech empire, stepped into his glass tower, the weight of his success pressing down on him like an oppressive fog. The hum of productivity buzzed around him, but inside his head, a storm brewed. His heart echoed with profound loneliness. Delegating tasks, securing deals, even negotiating with partners, all mere motions, lacking the vibrancy of human connection. Inside the sleek walls of his office, the elegance felt cold, a facade over a desolate truth: wealth had robbed him of meaningful engagement. Each morning, he walked through the bustling streets of Chicago, anonymous among the throng. His life was calculated yet empty, each victory overshadowed by a gnawing sense of isolation. At 45, he realized he had become a caricature of a leader, focused solely on profit margins, blinded by success. But the thrill of the chase now felt exhausting, a loop he couldn't escape. The question loomed: was this really living? This worries raced through his mind as he stared at the glowing stock ticker, yet his heart remained untouched. One drizzly Saturday, seeking to escape the suffocating weight of his own existence, he volunteered at a community garden. The fresh scent of soil and budding flowers seemed to promise something, perhaps a thin veil of purpose. That's when he met Emma and Lily, twin girls with laughter as bright as their colorful rain boots. Their carefree spirits contrasted sharply with his life of sterile ambition, igniting something he thought he'd lost: a genuine connection. Yet, as they chatted about their dreams of a bakery, a nagging dilemma rose within him, consuming his thoughts. He had the wealth to make their dreams a reality, but what would that mean for them? He discovered the twins lived in an old apartment, one that echoed of hardship since their mother's sudden passing. They spoke with such hope about turning their scrappy kitchen into a bakery, a tribute to her passion, and in that moment, Mark confronted a gnawing conflict within himself. Should he intervene with his resources, offering them a glide path to success? Or would that rob them of the grit and determination they needed to build their place in the world? Each question sliced deeper than the last, twisting in the turmoil brewing inside him. He felt trapped between two opposing worlds: his privileged reality and the raw sincerity of the girl's simple dreams. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. His weekends in the garden became rushed escapes filled with laughter and light, but each moment with Emma and Lily tightened the knot of anguish in his gut. Every seed buried deep in the soil felt like a metaphor for the roots he had neglected in his own life, a chance to nurture something genuine. As their bond grew, insecurity clawed at him. Would helping the girls realize their dream dull their ambition? Would he, in a sense, stifle what made them resilient? Standing among the rows of budding flowers, he felt the duality of his existence collide. The pressure pulsing through his veins matched the pounding rain above, sympathetic to his inner turmoil. What legacy did he wish to craft? The CEO so often revered, yet so profoundly isolated? He could feel a decision looming, ready to either shackle him further or free him to embrace deeper connections. As he glanced at the twins, caught in a moment of joy and simple laughter, the final thread of tension snapped. Standing there, he wrestled with an impending realization: could he have the courage to embrace the risk of connection, knowing full well it could unravel the very identity he'd built? The question echoed in his mind, as uncertainty dripped from the sky, thickening the air with doubt, leaving him suspended in a moment fraught with potential both thrilling and terrifying. The sun peeked shyly through the clouds the following weekend, a faint shimmer akin to the possibilities now stirring within Mark. He felt a burgeoning excitement as he headed towards the community garden, a pulse of anticipation that earlier seemed unfamiliar. The laughter of Emma and Lily had become a balm in the self-imposed wilderness of his life. As he arrived, he took a deep breath, filling his lungs with the earthy fragrance that reminded him of where he had begun to tether himself to something larger than profits. Yet, as he approached, hesitation washed over him. How could he navigate the territory of generosity without overpowering the twins' journey? He watched as they dug enthusiastically into the earth, their hands stained with soil, a direct reflection of their unyielding spirit. With every laughing shriek, they beckoned him to join their playful pursuit, yet his mind spiraled deeper into uncertainty. Would an act of kindness be seen as a benevolent gesture or a subtle attempt at interference in their dreams? He decided to help that day, not by throwing resources at their project, but through something more profound. He resolved to listen, to learn. With this newfound intention, Mark became engrossed in their stories. They spoke of old recipes their mother had left behind, each illustrated with bright-eyed passion and nostalgia. Their dreams unfolded like petals in sunlight, as they shared thoughts on flavors, the baking techniques they had practiced, and their plans to bring a taste of home to their small corner of Chicago. His heart swelled, but then it twisted with doubt. He remembered conversations in corporate boardrooms, where ambition and profit dictated every decision. Here, it was the expression of love and legacy that dominated. That realization was almost terrifying. Could he reassess his purpose through a lens of personal connection rather than sheer financial gain? Each half-digested notion came crashing against his old identity as a CEO, stinting his breath with both dread and exhilaration. A pivotal moment arose when Emma and Lily invited him to taste a batch of their experimental cookies. This was a gesture of trust, an invitation to judge their budding ability, and also a bridge being built between them and the cold, glass walls he normally inhabited. He hesitated momentarily but then felt compelled to engage. He ate, and his taste buds ignited with flavors reminiscent of childhood, sweet, warm, and comforting. "You should open a bakery," he proclaimed with unexpected enthusiasm, laughter spilling from his lips, a feeling both foreign and exhilarating. Their faces lit up, their dreams flickering in bright colors, but as he saw them beam, another layer of conflict unfurled within him. Would the spark he instigated translate into the kind of unyielding drive he had dismissed in himself? Or would this interaction leave him more ensnared in his own paradox? Emerging from the garden, Mark's heart raced as he weighed the encounter. He realized that vulnerability had come easier than he anticipated. Each moment spent with Emma and Lily broadened his understanding of what true engagement could mean. The twins had indeed revealed a simple yet profound truth: success isn't merely captured. It can be shared, nurtured, and grown together. Yet, as he turned down the street to head home, Mark felt the struggle knotting in his chest yet again. He confronted the anticipated milestone of his decision. Would he take a step toward supporting their venture directly? Was a financial investment a sign of strength or a decisive erasure of their potential? The revelation clawed at the periphery of his thoughts. He sat at the edge of possibility, filled with both hope and fear. The time had come to face the uncomfortable truth of his role. Could he blend his powerful resources with a heartfelt understanding of their struggles? In the echoing silence of his office, under the dim glow of corporate ambition, Mark knew his ultimate confrontation awaited. What identity would he claim as he moved into this venture with the twins? The clock was ticking, every minute spent in deliberation weighed heavily, teasing him with the promise of transformation or the shadows of regret. The question hung in the air like a forgotten melody aching to be played. The days passed in a blur for Mark, the quiet clatter of his office a stark contrast to the vivid memories of laughter and earth-stained hands. Each morning brought the same internal conflict, an unyielding weight that made the coffee taste bitter. The familiar corporate grind seemed mundane as his mind danced with images of the twins, their laughter threading through his thoughts like a persistent echo reminding him of the urgency for action. That Saturday morning, he found himself standing in front of the mirror, troubled by his reflection. The confident CEO he was meant to portray felt scrappy and uncertain. Yet, peeling back layers of self-doubt revealed a flicker of desire, an inner voice that begged for transformation. What would it mean to invest not just money, but to invest in genuine growth, in relationships? Fueled by renewed determination, Mark drove to the community garden once more. The anticipation radiated through him this time. It wasn't just connecting, it was about collaboration. The vision of a bakery danced before him, a labyrinth of flour-dusted countertops, warm ovens, and the intoxicating scent of fresh cookies. As he arrived, Mark spotted Emma and Lily tirelessly arranging pots for herbs, their spirits unaffected by the weariness that had weighed him down for far too long. He approached with a purposeful stride, yet the moment their eyes met, a rush of insecurity surged. Would they still find value in his presence? "Hey there!" he called, forcing a smile as he stepped onto the rich earth. "I've been thinking." The twins paused, glancing up with curiosity that felt both inviting and daunting. "About what?" they chorused, eyes wide with anticipation. "The bakery." The word hung in the air, fragile yet bold. "What if we really looked into it? I want to help you build it together." Their reaction was instantaneous, eyes lighting up like candles igniting in dark rooms. Yet, just as exhilaration surged through Mark, a heavy recollection surfaced. Had he crossed the line from supporter to overseer? It began to nibble at the edges of his excitement. "What do you mean by help?" Lily asked, tilting her head, her expression suddenly serious. Mark hesitated, the enormity of his leap dawning on him. "I mean, let us put together a business plan. I can help find funding, and we can sketch out what you want it to look like, how you want it to be." Both twins exchanged glances, an intricate silent conversation passed between them. Would they see his offer as an intrusion or as the lifeline he hoped it could be? Emma spoke first, her curiosity mingling with skepticism. "But what if we don't want it to be like a business? We want to create something special." That question thudded like a drum, each beat echoing an unspoken tension within Mark. His instinct to mold aspirations into tangible success felt at odds with the purity of their intentions. The hesitation on their faces reflected his own inner conflict. Could he truly stay an ally without redefining their vision? "I think we can create something beautiful, a blend of passion and purpose." Mark's voice trembled slightly, uncertain yet resolute. "But it needs to come from you both. I don't want to overshadow what you've built." Their attention sharpened, Emma's brows furrowing in contemplation. "You really mean that?" Mark nodded vigorously. "I do. This is about you too. Teach me what you want, and let us do it together." The subsequent exchange galvanized their spirits, conversation diving into ideas, recipes, and dreams that might flourish into something more. Mark reveled in the twins' enthusiasm, yet a gnawing apprehension simmered beneath the surface. What if he propelled them into a realm they did not wish to traverse? As the sun dipped lower, casting long shadows over their budding plans, Mark felt electrified and terrified. He grasped that he could provide insight without commandeering the project. Head spinning with possibilities and fears, his resolve began to solidify. Even a CEO could learn to let go while nurturing something profoundly important. But as their plans evolved, Mark realized that he must confront not only their aspirations but also the cataclysm within himself. How much of his past would he need to shed to embrace this new identity? With the twins by his side, the impending crossroads lay bare before him, each choice heavy with consequence. While the excitement pulsed through the air, so did the weight of uncertainty. The question lingered: could he truly balance the delicate act of empowerment without allowing his ambition to overshadow the very dreams he sought to elevate? As they closed their discussion with laughter, Mark's heart raced. Not only was he on the brink of supporting two young dreamers, but he was stepping precariously toward his own transformation. Where would it lead him? Would he embrace this raw and potent partnership, or would the echoes of his old life stifle the new one waiting to emerge? Mark left the garden that evening with an unusual warmth coursing through his veins, a stark contrast to the business confines that typically enveloped him. However, late-night reflection revealed a harrowing truth: every step he took towards engaging with the twins also took him further away from his familiar world. The fears he had pushed aside now surged forward. What if the bakery effort failed? What if he unwittingly introduced stress or disillusionment into their dream? That unease haunted him throughout the week, manifesting through restless nights filled with unanswered questions. Each morning, the office chair that once felt empowering now felt like a confining cage. The trivial tasks that filled his days lost their appeal, he craved authenticity yet felt shackled by corporate demands. The idea of a bakery flickered insistently at the back of his mind, offering a tantalizing glimpse of purpose that could transcend profit margins and quarterly reports. As the weekend approached, Mark found himself pacing in his office, deliberating over how to keep the twins' vision intact while also lending his expertise. The concept of collaboration began to take form in his mind, yet the approach seemed telling of a deeper conflict within himself. Could he really achieve harmony between his corporate philosophy and the twins' artistic aspiration? That Saturday, he returned to the garden brimming with ideas but also laden with self-expectations. It struck him that maybe this endeavor was not solely about the bakery, it was a conduit for his own transformation. The twins' energy had rekindled an embers of creativity that had laid dormant within him for years. What if he led them not as an authoritative figure, but as a partner willing to grow and learn himself? He was greeted by Emma and Lily, who were enthusiastically debating the merits of different cookie recipes, their laughter adding rhythm to the day. As Mark approached, he took a moment to breathe deeply, relishing the earthy aroma of fresh soil. It grounded him, linking each nervous thought to a reassuring stability. Once their formalities were over, Mark keenly sensed that this time, it didn't matter as much what he offered, it was about sharing space and experience. "I've been thinking," he began, feeling unexpectedly vulnerable. "What if we explored not just the bakery itself, but how we want it to feel?" Lily's eyes sparkled, it was as if he had struck a chord. "Like a space where people come together and share stories?" "Exactly," he replied, a rush of excitement surging through him. "We should outline emotions and memories we want to invoke. What feelings do you want people to carry home?" As the conversation unfolded, Mark felt walls begin to dissolve, not the physical barriers of his business world, but the mental constructs that had anchored him in fear. He was learning to articulate desires that intertwined with the twins' vision rather than suffocate it. Hours passed in a flurry of brainstorming, laughter, and the tangible bond forming between their shared dreams. They sketched potential signage that evoked warmth, they debated furniture arrangements fostering conversations, all the while, Mark absorbed the twins' aspirations, eager to integrate them into something greater without imposing his vision. Yet, as day turned to dusk and they packed up, heaviness returned to his chest. In daring to change, what would he need to relinquish completely? As he looked into the twins' hopeful expressions, a profound realization struck him. If they succeeded, it would mean redefining himself in ways he had not imagined possible. Could he truly abandon old fears and embrace this new identity? The mere semblance of success loomed large, but also, the notion of failure felt equally threatening. That tension hung in the warm evening air, wrapping around him like the twilight shadows. "I have to tell you something," he ventured as they prepared to part ways. The determination in his voice wavering momentarily. "I want to be completely transparent about my fears too." Their curious gazes anchored him, and he took a deep breath. "I'm really scared of messing this up. But, I believe we're onto something potent. Will you both promise to keep me honest? To steer us together?" The solemnity of his question settled between them, a pact forming not merely for business success but for personal accountability. As they vowed to challenge one another and keep the integrity of their vision intact, Mark realized that, perhaps, the most profound business endeavor he could embark on was the one that required the most of himself. Just as he was preparing to embrace this new partnership, a thought struck him: would the old version of himself ever fully release its grip on his ambitions? With an exhilarating blend of trepidation and hope, he felt they were on the brink of something monumental, yet shadows within loomed large as they left the garden. The moment of truth felt increasingly imminent. What awaited him in fully embracing this path? Mark stood in the garden the following Saturday, conditioned to expect uncertainty and yet craving clarity. The weight of his earlier fears still lingered, but now there was an undercurrent of resolve that swirled beneath. He had pledged to the twins to pursue this idea collectively, but how could he convert his uncertainty into purpose? As he absent-mindedly plucked at the petals of a daisy, he reflected on the importance of commitment in personal development. The decision to agree to an open dialogue about fears had opened doors, yet here he was, feeling metaphorically handcuffed by the specter of failure. He scanned the surroundings, looking for the twins but also seeking inspiration from his environment. Would every gust of wind carry suggestions on how to journey into this unknown territory together? When Emma and Lily arrived, there was a palpable shift in his energy. Their enthusiasm was infectious, sparking unfamiliar joy within him. "We're excited to brainstorm again," Emma squealed, her eyes twinkling with a fervor that he envied. It dawned on him that this was what he had been yearning for, an opportunity to engage in creativity without the pressure of rigid corporate protocols. Together, they repositioned folding chairs under a shady tree, creating a makeshift workspace illuminated by light filtering through leaves. Mark felt something loosen within as he moved closer to them, sharing both physical and emotional space. He drew in a deep breath, steadying himself. "Let us talk more about what this bakery represents," he started, embodying vulnerability. "We need to look beyond just appealing to customers. Let us talk about why we want this to exist." Lily jumped in, her voice animated. "It's about making connections and memories. Our family did all our celebrating at the bakery. It was the heart of our neighborhood." Each word struck him like a note in a symphony. That personal anchor in memory, could it not also be his? As they chatted, the significance of their collective venture began to crystallize. It wasn't merely a business proposition, it was an opportunity to build a sanctuary, a place for moments woven from the fabric of laughter, stories, and nostalgia. The emotional resonance of their motivations became a shared bond, grounding Mark further in the reality of what they were crafting together. Despite the joy that stoked the flames of creativity, Mark recognized an abrupt halt in his mind as he pondered the insecurities he still harbored. Would he succeed in bridging the gap between his corporate instincts and the warmth emanating from this nascent endeavor? Could they unravel the complexities of running a business without sacrificing the essence of their dream? "Are we truly ready for this?" he questioned, instinctively seeking affirmation. Emma and Lily paused, their gazes locking onto his. For a fleeting moment, he was disarmed, exposed. Here were the hopeful aspirations of two young souls, reaching for a dream. "We're just as nervous," Lily enthused. "But we want to share our vision, no matter what." Their optimism ignited the courage Mark needed, but even as he felt infused with their youthful enthusiasm, self-doubt lurked, waiting to reclaim its hold. Each brainstorming session felt like a step forward, yet he found himself grappling with moments of hesitation that whispered warnings from the shadows of his past. As their conversation continued, Mark found the need to align his ambitions with theirs. He resisted the urge to impose his corporate methodologies and clung to the rawness of their dreams. However, for every idea that floated to the forefront, a conflicted voice echoed inside him, forcing him to ask whether he was truly equipped to navigate the valleys of risk that lay ahead. He glanced at their drawings and notes, capturing the heart of a potential bakery. An unexpected surge of protectiveness washed over him, not just for their vision but for the fear of losing what felt real amidst corporate facades. This wasn't merely a bakery. It was the safety net they were collectively weaving, and he was terrified of inadvertently fraying its threads. "I've been thinking," Mark spoke, hesitating for a moment as he cautiously weighed his commitment against his fears. "What if we create not just a place, but a feeling? How do we ensure we stay true to what we want this space to represent when the pressures roll in?" Their expressions shifted, absorbing the weight of his challenge. A reckoning lay before them, a shared exploration of purpose and integrity. Mark realized he hadn't just stepped into the unknown, he was primed for an evolution that would require shedding layers of his past. As light dimmed and the air turned cool, he sensed something building between them, a resolute bond stitched through vulnerability and shared ambitions. In that fleeting moment, the very air around them buzzed with uncharted possibilities. Mark understood that navigating through the fears would require collective resolve. But as the bubbles of excitement ebbed away, he pondered one final question. Could they sustain the passion if the path became more treacherous than ever anticipated? Uncertainty enveloped him once more, leaving a trail of unease in its wake as the warmth of the day began to fade. The moment hung, suspended, ripe with promise and fraught with tension. What obstacles awaited them as they ventured further into this unfamiliar journey? The following week unfolded with surprising swiftness for Mark. After their brainstorming session, the vision of the bakery began to take root in his mind, intertwining with his existing ambitions like vines anchoring a trellis. Yet, even with newfound resolve, Mark felt the swirling doubts returning. It wasn't just the fear of failure now, it was the gnawing anxiety of becoming what he had despised in the corporate world, too focused on metrics and not enough on meaning. In the stillness of his home office, the gleam of his old corporate accolades stared back at him from the shelf, mocking the very essence of his purpose here. Each plaque represented success in a realm that felt increasingly disconnected from who he wanted to be. They were reminders of a person molded by ambition, profit margins, and quarterly goals. But what will I become if I prioritize numbers over memories? He whispered to himself, grappling with the haunting question that had begun to plague him. Determined not to erode the excitement brewing between him, Emma, and Lily, he opened a new document on his laptop and began shaping intentions rather than objectives. Instead of projecting revenue streams, he typed out a manifesto of sorts, a heartfelt articulation of what the bakery could embody: community, creativity, togetherness, and joy. The words poured out, each sentence weaving a narrative that transcended the business facade he was so used to. As he crafted this manifesto, he deemed it essential to visit the twins with his thoughts. They had shared their memories, now, it was time to share his vision. In the following days, he reached out to them, inviting them for a casual meeting over coffee at a quaint local cafe that typified the warmth he wanted their bakery to radiate. When they arrived, bright-eyed and bursting with energy, Mark felt a rush of reassurance. He was reminded of the passion that had originally drawn him to their collaboration. "I've been thinking more about what this means for us," he stated, folding his hands atop the table, the scent of rich coffee wafting around them. "Tell us." Emma leaned in, eager for direction. "It's about creating a space that feels like home." Mark's voice was steadier than before, his confidence blossoming in their presence. "And I think we should center everything around that sentiment. Our bakery should be a sanctuary where people gather and find solace, not just sweets." Lily clapped, her enthusiasm infectious. "Exactly. That's what our family bakery was." Everyone was welcomed in. The spark ignited more brainstorming as they discussed how to build an inviting atmosphere, from the layout and color schemes to the pastries that would evoke nostalgia. They tossed out ideas like confetti, painting a vivid picture of what could be. Yet, as they wove this dream together, Mark felt an undercurrent of apprehension. Could they really fashion a business that treated people not as statistics, but as cherished guests? "Here's the thing," he interjected suddenly, a tone of seriousness coloring his words. "We need to remember that it's easy to get lost in the pressure of running a business. What can we do to protect our vision when things inevitably get tough?" The twins paused, considering his question with sincerity. Finally, Emma spoke solemnly, "We can create core values that guide us and remind us of why we started this in the first place." Mark felt respect for their insight swell within him. This was the crux of partnership, their diverse strengths emerging as he relinquished some authority in favor of shared responsibility. He hadn't just ventured into this unknown territory with the twins, he was transforming. As they defined their core values, a sense of affirmation surged through him. Perhaps it was possible to harmonize his corporate savvy with this newfound purpose. Maybe, just maybe, both could coexist. But a latent anxiety simmered beneath the surface, revealing a nagging thought: what if their idealism came crashing down against the uncompromising realities of the business world? Would they end up losing the very thing they were trying to create? As the cafe buzzed with the chatter of other patrons, Mark felt an inner conflict emerge. He realized that confronting the pitfalls of entrepreneurial life was not just about preserving the vision but also about confronting the waves of doubt that rose with each passing hour. "Let us promise each other to keep our values at the forefront, regardless of what comes our way," he suggested, locking eyes with the twins, hoping to solidify their shared commitment. With nods of consensus, Mark sensed that they were laying the groundwork not just for a business but for an alliance forged in mutual purpose. Yet the creeping question shadowed him: how would they react when the first real challenges arrived? Would this fragile new bond weather the storms ahead, or would it unravel at the seams? The air grew thicker with unsaid thoughts as they all understood the weight of the decisions before them. What lay ahead was an unknown path that loomed, laden with expectations and uncertainties, and Mark couldn't shake the feeling that the hardest tests were just beginning. Mark experienced an uneasy mix of excitement and trepidation as he returned home from that pivotal meeting. The scent of baking bread filled his kitchen, a reminder of the very essence he wanted for the bakery: a hearth, a gathering place, a sanctuary. Yet, his heart raced with the sting of uncertainty. Would the vision he and the twins had crafted withstand the heat of reality? With a coffee in hand, he sat at his wooden table, the manifesto he created still open on his laptop. Each sentence struck him anew as he read through it. These were not mere words, they were convictions. But as soon as they solidified in his mind, doubt echoed starkly against each strong assertion. Mark closed his laptop with a soft click, his thoughts spiraling deeper. He needed concrete steps to translate their ideals into tangible actions. Meeting Emma and Lily had rekindled his resolve, but now he felt the weight of leadership pressing down on him. Suddenly, inspiration struck. A business plan stretching beyond the numbers was required. He began sketching out frameworks, initially focusing on the bakery's mission, values, and long-term goals. But almost immediately, he felt them slipping away, crumpling like autumn leaves caught in a gust of wind. The first pang of reality hit. He was slipping back into the very mindset he sought to escape. No, he declared aloud, shaking his head. This isn't what we discussed. He needed to write down his values first, to create a vision board that didn't just hang on the wall but lived and breathed within their processes. He decided to express their bakery's identity visually. He grabbed a collection of magazines and began cutting out images and phrases that resonated with their mission. Moments later, the table was a mosaic of pastels depicting pastries, bustling crowds, and snippets of joy, the very spirit he wanted the bakery to encapsulate. The act felt tangible, grounding his plans in the authenticity he sought. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden hue through the window, Mark realized he needed more than visuals. He required actionable pathways to embody core values in their operations. With renewed vigor, he began mapping out community engagement ideas that transcended traditional approaches. Could they host local art showcases or pottery classes alongside baking workshops? What if they partnered with local farmers to emphasize sustainability? Each idea erupted like fireworks, illuminating the canvas of his mind. Yet with every glimmer of potential, the nagging shadow of doubt returned. How could they sustain these initiatives in the face of financial pressures? He pushed back against the fear. If they anchored their choices in purpose rather than panic, perhaps they could foster resilience against challenges. A decision materialized, a bold commitment to embrace transparency. Mark scribbled a note to bring to their next meeting: open books, open heart. He toyed with this motto for their team, envisioning regular check-ins where they could discuss fears and successes candidly. As he prepared for bed, his mind whirred with questions. Was he capable of leading with vulnerability? Could he foster an environment where he and the twins could explore their insecurities and help each other grow? The answers felt elusive, but doubt sparked a determination to push through. Tomorrow, he would present these ideas to the twins. There would be no hiding his apprehensions or aspirations. Mark had to embrace this rawness and confront the inevitable challenges head-on. What lay before him was not merely business mechanics, it was the intersection of purpose and passion. But deep within, a storm was brewing, not just of ideas but of the realization that leading meant focusing not only on their shared vision but also on the courage to face potential failure together. As sleep beckoned, he felt both exhilarated and tremulous. With the bakery bubbling like a concoction ready to boil, Mark fell asleep clutching his notes, his dreams lively with possibilities. The question lingered: would their bond withstand the tests of their ambitions, or would the pressures of enterprise shatter their cherished ideals into fragments of what could have been? As dawn broke, Mark awoke with the weight of his mission heavy on his chest. He showered, but his mind raced past the steady stream of water. Thoughts of his meeting with Emma and Lily seeped into every crevice of his consciousness. The once clear-cut lines of his vision now blurred with anxiety as he questioned whether his approach would resonate with the twins. Would they understand his desire to embrace authenticity, or would they feel he was retreating into abstract concepts when concrete action was needed? Over breakfast, he stared at the toast before him, each slice a metaphor for their bakery, a fresh start waiting to be transformed. As he ate, the urgency for a plan solidified. Today was not just about ideas, it was about accountability, about showing the twins that he was ready to embody the principles they had dreamed of together. Arriving at the bakery, he was greeted by the comforting scent of rising dough. The familiar warmth enveloped him, fueling his determination. He felt an almost palpable shift as he approached the twins, their laughter rippling through the kitchen. Mark took a deep breath and envisioned the conversation. "Hey, can we sit down for a minute?" he asked, his voice steadier than he felt. They paused, and the lively atmosphere changed slightly, charged with curiosity. As they settled around the table, Mark confronted his own vulnerability head-on. "I've been thinking a lot since our meeting. I want to be transparent about the concerns I have about our bakery." Their eyes narrowed, and Mark pressed on, "I don't want us to just be about the pastries and the products, I want us to be about the experience and the values we bring to our customers. I believe we can intertwine our community into this space, but I'm also worried about how we'll manage that." Emma intercepted, her brow furrowing. "We are all a bit nervous about that balance between ambition and reality." Mark nodded, recognizing the embodiment of his own fears in her response. "Exactly. That's why I think we need to map out our values clearly. We need to create actionable steps that uphold what we represent." Sensing a shift in the room, Lily leaned in. "What does that look like to you?" He shared his vision board idea, a collage of inspiration that could serve as a visual touchstone for their journey. The twins listened intently, exchanging glances that revealed mutual understanding and excitement. "But," Mark continued, "we can't stop there. Can we brainstorm ways that connect us to our community and let our values penetrate every nook of our operations?" Drawing on the energy of their conversation, they launched into a flurry of ideas. Together, they discussed hosting baking contests for local schools, engaging with home cooks who could share their heritage through baked goods, and considering partnerships with local artisans. The more they spoke, the more the initial doubt in Mark's mind dissipated, replaced by a collective sense of purpose. But soon, the conversation turned toward finances, and the atmosphere shifted again. Reality loomed like a guillotine. It was evident that while their dreams expanded, the pressures of running a sustainable business were not retreating. The fluctuations of their income became the new ghost haunting their aspirations. It prompted a confrontation Mark hadn't anticipated. His fear of failure manifested itself strongly. "What if we cannot keep up?" he admitted, his voice lowered. "Then we'll adapt," Emma replied, her tone unwavering. "Instead of retreating from our values, we must find creative ways to uphold them, even when times are tough." Inspired, but still grappling with the weight of uncertainty, Mark considered how they might approach potential setbacks. Perhaps choosing transparency about their struggles, as his note suggested, would strengthen their resilience together. The notion of open-hearted discussions unfolded within the team dynamic, one that would weave them closer in shared triumphs and trials. As they concluded their meeting, Mark felt a pang of hope battling against his fear. With these ideas, they had begun to build a foundation based not on the fear of failure, but a commitment to growth, vulnerability, and communal spirit. However, planting seeds of change required nurturing, and the hardest part lay ahead: putting these plans into practice. Would the three of them be able to confront the inevitable hurdles with a unified front? Would their bond be strong enough to weather the looming storms? Tomorrow's actions beckoned, laden with uncertainty, but today was a step forward in hope. The most pressing question now lingered: Could their shared vision transform into a reality that not only forged a successful bakery but also strengthened their partnership amid the looming chaos of real-world challenges? Mark awoke the next day with a renewed sense of purpose, the lingering doubt he had felt yesterday now overshadowed by a glint of determination. The crisp morning air filled his lungs as he prepared for the day ahead. He resisted the urge to fixate on the pitfalls. Instead, he visualized possibilities. Each potential setback began to resemble a stepping stone rather than an obstacle. The bakery was a hive of activity as he arrived, the vibrant energy palpable as Emma and Lily busily decorated pastries, the shop filled with a medley of colors and enticing scents. Stepping into this environment felt invigorating. A simple thought struck him: they were not just making food, they were crafting memories with each cake, cookie, and loaf. How could he help them make those memories count beyond a fleetingly sweet indulgence? "Good morning," he called, whereupon Lily shot a flour-dusted grin in his direction. "Ready to get to work?" Emma asked, wiping her hands on her apron. "Absolutely. I've got some ideas I'd like to hash out with you both," Mark said, feeling the weight of responsibility but also a sense of collective ownership. They huddled around the mixing station as Mark laid out a plan to operationalize their values. "What if we develop a community board? A place where our customers can pin notes about what they love, or even share stories related to our bakery. It'll not just be about us, but about them too." The twins exchanged thoughtful glances, nodding in approval. Emma's eyes sparked with creativity. "We could incorporate a Customer of the Month feature, share stories on social media, give them recognition." "That ties back into our values beautifully," said Mark, enthusiasm germinating. "Unfortunately, even implementing these thoughts requires funding. We need to keep profitability in our sights, especially now." "Right," Lily interjected, her brow furrowed in contemplation. "Should we consult someone about financial planning? A reliable source who understands small businesses would prove beneficial." Mark hesitated. Asking for help felt like another fracture in his resolve. But he knew reluctance wasn't an option. "That makes sense. Let us find a local business advisor who can help us navigate these waters. I want to be transparent about where we stand financially. It could foster trust within our team and with our customers." They dove back into brainstorming and executed their plans with an exhilarating momentum. Mark still felt the undercurrent of uncertainty, but it couldn't snuff out the burgeoning excitement in the bakery. The camaraderie deepened in their exchanges, and for the first time, he sensed the weight of leadership transforming into a shared likeness. In the throes of their discussions, the creeping realization of vulnerability as a strength dawned on him. Every idea discussed, every plan crafted, painted a picture of growth, both for the bakery and himself as an integral leader. Yet, as the day dragged on and responsibilities piled, anxiety found its way back in. A looming income meeting next week gnawed at him. The thought of those numbers, of sitting across the table from an analyst, felt like a gauntlet. Was he truly prepared to face the hard truths that lay ahead? As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow through the bakery windows, Mark gathered Emma and Lily for a wrap-up of the day. He breathed deeply, grounding himself in the knowledge they were not alone in this. "I just want to remind us, whatever happens next, we'll tackle it together." "Exactly," Lily said, her voice steadying the air around them. But inside, Mark wrestled with an unsettling truth. Could their belief in community hold up under the scrutiny of real, cutthroat financial vulnerability? As they locked up for the night, an unsettling thought nagged at him. He was stepping into uncharted territory, trusting his instincts as a leader. But would each decision reveal strengths he was yet to discover, or would they lead inevitably to his own downfall? The challenge of financial clarity loomed, promising to test not just their business acumen but the very bonds they had forged. Tomorrow's meeting would reveal whether they were ready to take on this next chapter, or if the foundation would crumble beneath the weight of reality. Mark stood at the entrance of the bakery with a renewed sense of purpose, feeling the weight of expectation settle on his shoulders like an unwieldy cloak. Today was the day they were set to meet with the financial advisor, and he could feel the thrumming pulse of anxiety coursing through him. Yet, beneath that, there was a simmering excitement. The time had come to step forward, not just for the bakery, but for himself. As Emma and Lily arrived, the bubbling enthusiasm that had been a hallmark of their journey reigned supreme in the air. It reinforced Mark's belief that they were more than just a business, they were forging a path that illuminated their shared values and aspirations. Discussions shifted toward their plans for the day, but beneath it all lay the undercurrent of apprehension concerning the meeting. "Let us remind ourselves of why we're doing this," Mark began, his voice steady but heartfelt. "Whatever the numbers show, we know our vision is strong." "Absolutely," Emma chimed in. "We're here to create a space that mirrors our values and connects with our community. We can't lose sight of that." With that reminder at the forefront of their minds, they headed for their appointment, Mark's heart pounding with each step. The meeting room was stark and clinical, a far cry from the warmth of their bakery. As they settled in, he reminded himself to embrace vulnerability. After all, sharing their journey was a crucial pillar of what they aimed to achieve. The financial advisor arrived, a poised woman with an air of experience, and Mark felt a mix of trepidation and relief as she initiated the discussion. They shared their aspirations and the ethos behind their bakery, laying bare the foundations they wanted to build upon. Mark was surprised at how naturally the conversation flowed. The advisor listened intently, offering her insights on ways to navigate the challenges that lay ahead. As financial figures were presented, Mark felt the old weight of fear settle into his stomach, but it was met with the budding strength of camaraderie. While the numbers weren't ideal, they painted a realistic picture, a challenge, yes, but not insurmountable. "This is a pathway for growth, not a dead end," he asserted, his newfound confidence beginning to rise with every word. The guidance offered by the advisor felt like a lifeline. Though the road ahead was fraught with obstacles, she spoke of community-based strategies, ways to utilize their engaging vision while appealing to the local market. Mark felt sparks of inspiration igniting within him. What had once seemed overwhelming adapted into manageable tasks, a canvas ready to be filled with brushstrokes of tenacity. As they wrapped up the meeting, Mark felt a monumental shift within. He had broached the conversation not as an isolated captain shouldering the burdens of an empire, but as a collaborative leader, fortified by the strength of his partnership with Emma and Lily. Their spirits invigorated, Mark proposed setting a monthly review to align on open discussions about their finances, a transparent commitment to stay true to their core values. As they emerged from the building, laughter erupted between the trio, mingling with the crisp city air. Each step toward the bakery felt lighter, grounded in shared aspirations. That evening, the three of them convened at a cozy corner table, surrounded by remnants of flour and herbs from the day's endeavors, and Mark sensed an invisible thread weaving their fates together more tightly. "I want to propose something," he initiated, excitement threading through his voice. "Let us have a customer appreciation day once a month, celebrate those who share in this journey, bring them into our narrative." "Brilliant!" Lily exclaimed, her eyes sparkling with delight. "This can be a way to keep our values real. To ensure community engagement remains at the forefront of our mission," Emma added, her enthusiasm palpable. Moments folded into ideas, the culmination of months of discussions finally crystallizing into tangible purposes. As Mark recounted all their achievements together, a deep sense of fulfillment washed over him. The venture had brought him growth he never anticipated. He had moved from a lonely CEO tangled in the web of wealth to part of a dynamic partnership woven with dreams, hope, and laughter. In the night's silence, Mark's heart was full, no longer haunted by uncertainty but buoyant with impending possibilities. The bakery was more than a business, it was a commitment to nurture their identities, their shared humanness, and the deep connections forged through vulnerability and purpose. He smiled to himself as he turned off the lights, knowing that tomorrow they would face new challenges. This time, however, they would do it as a team ready to overcome whatever hurdles lay ahead, driven by shared ambition and fortified by friendship. "Together," he whispered, the word echoing in the calm of the night, his confidence solidified in the remarkable journey they were now fully embracing. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second to share.